Okay, welcome back. So, I was pointed out to this video, Napoleon in Egypt, Battle of the Pyramids, 1798. I was told it's pretty good. So, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Before I get started, let me sit there. There's a thanks button on the channel. You can donate. You don't have to. All donations are appreciated. Get this off here because I'll hit that button on accident. Subscribe if this kind of stuff you like.
Subscribe genre is rock music.
What? What are you listening to me for, bitch? So, sorry, that was Alexa. Bell, and if you don't want to do any of that, thumbs up. Okay, video.
May 1798. A massive French invasion force sails across the Mediterranean. 55,000 men, aboard more than 300 ships, escorted by 13 ships of the line. Aboard the most powerful of these, the 120-gun L'Orient, sails General Napoleon Bonaparte. France's celebrated hero of the war in Italy has received new orders from his government. He is to lead an expeditionary force east, to Egypt, the wealthiest province of the Ottoman Empire. And to all educated Europeans, an ancient land of mystery and wonder. After 6 years of war in Europe, the French Republic faces one last remaining enemy: Great Britain. The conquest of Egypt will strike a powerful blow against the British, disrupting their trade in the eastern Mediterranean and threatening their connections to India and the East. These profitable trade networks help fuel the British war effort. What's more, it will extend France's revolutionary, civilizing mission to the people of Egypt, liberating them from superstition and feudalism. France's corrupt and avaricious government, the Directory, sees two further benefits from the campaign: the opportunity to acquire tremendous riches, and to get the alarmingly popular and ambitious General Bonaparte far away from Paris, where plots and coups are never far from anyone's mind. Napoleon is thrilled by the expedition, which he has done much to promote and organize himself. It is a chance to win fresh glory and to walk in the footsteps of his heroes, Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. Like Alexander, Napoleon even has fanciful notions of marching on to India to attack the British there. Europe is a molehill, he had told his secretary, Bourrienne. We must set off for the Orient. That is where all the greatest glory has been achieved. But the Mediterranean is dangerous water for the French. While the Republic's armies have won great victories on land, Britain has cemented its status as the dominant naval power of the age, with decisive victories over French allies, the Spanish at Cape St. Vincent and the Dutch at Camperdown. Rear Admiral Sir Horatio Nelson and his squadron of 14 ships of the line now prowl the Mediterranean. Nelson knows a large French fleet has just left Toulon, but does not know its destination, which remains a closely guarded secret. Undetected, the French expedition sails south along the Italian coast. On the 9th of June, it arrives off Malta, the island is ruled by the Knights of St. John, a religious military order dating back to the Crusades. But the French have decided that they want it for a naval base, and a thorn in the side of the British. In 1565, the Knights had famously held out against a vast Ottoman army for 3 months. Now, despised by the locals, divided amongst themselves, the Knights surrender to Napoleon in just 2 days. During his 6 days in Malta, Napoleon overhauls its archaic government, establishes schools, abolishes slavery, and requisitions money and supplies. Then he sails for Egypt, leaving General Vaubois and a 5,000-strong garrison to hold the island. But where is the Royal Navy?
Did they surrender in 2 days? Did it say because the natives pretty much didn't like them anymore, so they kind of just gave up, maybe to not inflict potential death against the natives? Or did they just give up because they just knew they didn't have a chance? Did they have, maybe they had better weapons than the Ottoman? They held out for 3 months, but they were still there. So did the Ottomans give up? Curious about that.
Back in May, Nelson's squadron had been dispersed by gales. He has now regrouped, correctly guessed Napoleon's destination, and is racing to intercept. If he can catch the French, British seamanship and gunnery all but guarantee the destruction of Napoleon's fleet. Then, a lucky break for the French. On the night of the 22nd, Nelson's squadron passes within a few miles of the French fleet. But thanks to heavy fog and darkness, neither side is even aware of the other's presence. The British squadron sails on to Alexandria, where they find no sign of the French. An exasperated Nelson waits 24 hours before heading north to continue his search. Just hours later, the first of Napoleon's ships arrive off Alexandria.
Wow. Now, would Nelson's, now I'm just going to say, they're representing 3 and Napoleon has 5. Is that the actual number of ships, or is that just, but does that mean that Nelson still had the advantage because they had a better navy? I'm asking for a friend. I know the answer, but...
Napoleon, aware that British warships are in the area, wants to disembark as quickly as possible. 5,000 French infantry go ashore at night, storm Alexandria the next morning, and quickly overpower its garrison. The rest of the French army lands safely. Napoleon has brought 38,000 troops to Egypt, mostly veterans of the Army of Italy. The 5 infantry divisions are commanded by Generals Bon, Desaix, Kleber, Menou, and Renier. The single cavalry division is led by the towering figure of Thomas Alexandre Dumas. He is France's first black general, born in what's now Haiti, to a French
Didn't his son write the Count of Monte Cristo and base it off of him? Am I thinking right?
Aristocrat and enslaved African woman. He has already won fame for his actions in Italy, where the Austrians had nicknamed him the Black Devil. There are more familiar faces from Italy. Napoleon's chief of staff, the indefatigable General Berthier, and brigade commanders Generals Murat, Lannes, and Marmont. The army is also accompanied by 167 scientists, scholars, artists and assorted experts, even a hot air balloonist. Collectively they are known as the savants, and have come to study Egypt's historical and natural wonders. But they and Napoleon find Alexandria a bitter disappointment. The fabled city of antiquity, founded by Alexander himself, has been reduced by centuries of earthquakes and neglect to a ramshackle town of 6,000 inhabitants. Egypt is nominally ruled by the Ottoman Empire. In reality, power lies with local Mamluk warlords. Two in particular, Murad Bey and Ibrahim Bey. Mamluks were originally slave soldiers who once served the Islamic Caliphate. Superb horsemen and fearless warriors, they now rule Egypt with an iron fist, expropriating its wealth and leaving its peasants in poverty. To most Egyptians, they are despised foreign overlords, a situation that Napoleon hopes to exploit with clever propaganda. To the people of Egypt, he proclaims, "I am come to restore your rights and punish usurpers. I reverence God, His Prophet, and the Quran." Meanwhile, Murad and Ibrahim summon Mamluk warlords to the Al-Azhar Mosque in Cairo. Here, they agree to gather an army to crush the invaders. Napoleon believes his best option is to strike quickly. Less than a day after his troops finish landing, he begins his advance on Cairo. But he misjudges the blistering climate and the barren, windswept landscape. He forces the pace, even after his men run out of water and are consumed by thirst. Hundreds collapse and die. A few kill themselves to escape the suffering. Bedouin horsemen circle the French like vultures. Stragglers that fall into their hands are robbed, tortured, and killed. Even old comrades like Lannes and Murat are involved in heated conversations about Napoleon's decision-making. The army takes 4 days to cover the 45 miles to Damanhur, where mercifully they are able to rest, drink, and trade for food. It's not a moment too soon. News arrives that a large force of Mamluks under Murad Bey is approaching from the southeast. The French advance to meet them at Shubrahit, on the banks of the Nile. As 4,000 Mamluk horsemen come into view, the French marvel at their brightly coloured outfits, embellished with gold and jewels, and their many ornate weapons, including pistols, swords, daggers and lances. Murad boasts that he will sever Frenchmen's heads like slicing watermelons in a field. But for all their bravado and panache, the
this is one of those weird times where I understand what he's saying, but I literally know what it feels like to cut a watermelon in half. So I felt those words. I'm going to pause it at 14 minutes or so. I don't want to really get into the battle because I would hate to start it then. So I might pause it just before the battle starts so we can have a battle for part 2. Apologies, it's longer than I like to do.
Mamluks have neither the discipline nor tactics to face a trained modern army. When Napoleon forms his troops into giant squares, the Mamluk cavalry can only circle impotently, unable to break through the walls of French bayonets. Scores are shot from the saddle. After 2 hours, the Mamluks call off their attack and retreat. They have suffered around 1,000 casualties. The French have scarcely lost a man. The victory is a much-needed morale boost for Napoleon's men after the hardships of the desert. The Mamluks fall back to Mbaba, a small town on the banks of the Nile, across the river from Cairo. Here, within sight of Egypt's fabled pyramids 9 miles to the south, they will face the invader with their full force.
I think I might stop it here. I apologize this being a shorter video, but I just feel like it's going to get into a battle, and I think that stopping it here kind of gets us ready so that the next video we're into that battle. There's no pause, no interruption. This is a shorter one. I do apologize for that. Car. And so I'll make it up to all of you. I'll see you walking down the street, and I'll pull up in a van, and I'll say, "Hey, little kids, want some candy?" And, you know, then I'll get arrested. So now I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. So we'll end this video, and we'll come right back tomorrow. I'll come right back after a little break, and then I'll get into this, and then blah, 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 and you know what I'm saying. So apologies, but until next time, have a good day, have a good night.